Hello, blissful parents out there. Michelle Abraham, your host of Blissful Parenting Podcast. I am here today to bring you an amazing couple of guests. I've got two guests today. How great is that? So, first of all, let's just say hi to Katie and Steve. How are you guys doing?
We're great. Thank you so much for having us.
Very good indeed.
You're welcome. Well, let me tell our audience what we're talking about today, what we're all about. So, today we're going to talk about the Family Success Secrets podcast, which is their podcast. And then they have a family success system. So, we're going to get the secrets of the family success system. How about that, everyone? And let me tell you a little bit more about Katie and Steve. So, Katie and Steve are the parents of five. They have five kids, ranged in ages from 4 to 17, which is amazing. And they are family success consultants, as well as the creators of the Family Success Secrets podcast. So Steve also offers executive coaching for business owners looking to optimize their team efficiency and employee satisfaction and retention rates. So they've been married for 20 years and they have five incredible children. They've lived through numerous moves and military deployments while raising their family, all while discovering the special needs that two of the children were born with. They've endured hardship and have built joyful resilience through the process. They love to travel, meet new people, eat good food, and are completely hooked on helping families transform their lives from chaos and tension into lives lived with purpose and passion, which we are all about here in the joyful, blissful parenting space here. So thank you, Katie and Steve, for joining us today.
Yes,
My
we're just
pleasure.
so delighted.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in, guys. So now, is this a new thing that you guys have become family success consultants? And I love the name of what you're doing. And I think that's really cool. So tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Sure. So it's kind of an interesting journey and it's been really exciting. We felt very called initially in January, February of 2020 to begin serving special needs families. But we needed a way to do that because we wanted to start a nonprofit. And so as we worked diligently to figure out how we wanted that to look and exactly how would we help, we began looking for ways that we could also support a nonprofit or some kind of otherwise scholarship outreach. And we realized that we could serve all families. And so we began to set up our family success, consulting, coaching practice. And we've really been enjoying it.
Yeah, so technically we've been doing it less than a year on paper as a business type entity, but we've been doing it for quite a long time as we moved around the planet with the Navy and have helped and interacted with other families over the course of that time, and then particularly with other special needs families the last 5 years.
And I would imagine having five kids, there's probably, and over the span of the last 17 years being parents, there's probably been a lot of support you've given to other parents and along the journey as well. So that's great that you guys have had so much success. And I love the idea. So tell us a little bit like the goal behind the Family Success podcast and your system. So the goal is to really help families do what?
Okay, so for the podcast, the idea is that we release every week. So on Wednesday morning, every week, there's a new episode. And so let's say, take for instance, this week, we had a guest who would share some of their secrets, anything that they know that would help a family to have better success by any measure in the home. And then on the opposite week, it'll be just Katie and I going through some of our experiences, giving some of our advice, that type of thing. The end result is always the same, whether it's us or a guest using their personal or professional expertise to say, here's our story, this is what we do now, here's what you can do in your home to bring some additional measure of success that's easy to implement into your home. So that's what we do with the podcast each week. For our program, what we do is we take families through, right now it's about 8 weeks of a program that helps them to set a vision for their family of how to raise their children, build relationships, and build into their family the ability to have a system by which they train their children to be ready to be independent at the time they go off for that first job, to go to college, join the military, whatever they're going to do. They'll learn how to be financially literate, how to have self-confidence, how to be good people, law-abiding citizens, They'll know how to wash their own clothes and do their own dishes and prepare their own food, all of that kind of stuff. Now, we don't teach them how to cook, but we tell you how to teach your children to cook, kind of stuff, right? And we go through it that way, so that when the kids are at that point where they're getting ready to launch, the parents have no worries that the kid will be successful outside of their home.
That's awesome, 'cause I think that's what parents worry the most about is like, did we teach them everything they need to know as they're leaving to go off to college, right?
And during the program, we also work a lot on reducing a lot of the tensions people have at home. A lot of the time, we find that spouses don't know how to get on the same page. There's a lot of unmet and unspoken expectations. So we work through that, and we help the family set up a vision and help them set up their goals to reach that vision. And we work hard to help the families learn to become a team, so that parents aren't feeling like that horrible guilt. I yelled at my kid again. We give them structure and systems to help avoid those triggers and to make their home peaceful and loving and a place that everyone enjoys being. And we just give them the easy, very easy systematic ways, things that they can do in their home. And already the people we've been working with are having amazing results. So that's been really fun to watch.
That's really cool. So now, how did this come about? Because you guys are parents, you're in the trenches as well at the moment right now. So were people coming up to me like, "Oh, how did you get your kids to do that?" Or like, how are you guys so happy?" Or what was the kind of the question that kept being asked to you that kind of inspired this whole change in what you were doing for your families?
It's kind of a funny story, actually. It took 14 years of trial and error and exploration, purchasing systems and implementing things. And I realized, and so did Steve over those years, none of them were really comprehensive enough for what we needed. We were a military family moving every 2 years with children who were on various ends of different ability levels with special needs. And we finally, once I figured this out, we ended up having friends ask us, "What are you doing? How are you guys accomplishing all these things? And everyone's so happy and they're so respectful." And so we started sharing this with friends. And then we were on a podcast. And before the podcast, the interviewer was asking us some questions.
Mhm.
And we had never thought of turning this into a program at that point. And he was so fascinated, he ended up doing the entire interview about it. And so at the end, when we hung up, he said, "Can I buy that?" We were like, we don't sell that, but
Sure.
yeah. And so we realized, there was this stream of people asking us about this, and that it apparently has value to others, and it really does. And it's making a difference. So.
That's awesome. What is some of the best things that you've seen come out of the program that you've been like the most proud about?
Well, we have a family who actually in 7 years had never been on a vacation, who actually took the time and went away. And they had a great time bonding and building relationships together. And it was so exciting to see their pictures. That was really fun. And another family who said, we were having a stressful day. Our weekends are always stressful, and we have a lot we have to accomplish, and it's just really hard to get the kids on board, and it's really frustrating. And we were on the brink of saying, "We're going to make some changes around here." And then they said, and then we remembered class, and we stopped, and we remembered, it's okay. We do this slowly. We do this with joyfulness. We do this with a team mentality. And they ended up having an entire reversal. They've started planning in times to do intentional, fun family bonding, which makes work time so much more pleasant. And they were implementing the strategies we were teaching them and actually seeing a real result in their home. We had another family actually take action and go to a marriage conference. Like, not even something on their radar that they were planning to do. And they were so inspired to make certain changes that they actually went. And so, it's been so rewarding for us to see that we can affect people in such a good way. And it's generational, because they're modeling these things to their kids, which means this is how their kids will understand normalcy, and they will have these positive habits and systems and mindsets for their own kids someday.
Yeah, which is great. We we've talked about this on several podcasts recently. The more healing we can do at home as parents, the better our kids going out there into the world and as whole healed humans. It's a good thing for the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
that's
better
yeah.
to teach as much as we can at home and to avoid those situations where they're outside of the home now and they're like, wow, I've got to get over my home life from when I was a kid. So
Yeah, or they got
yeah,
to run away from it. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. No, I bet like this is perfect timing for you guys coming and starting to do this because in the world in the last couple of years has really been turned upside down and there's been a lot more disruption and chaos in family homes than there typically usually is. So I think by the sounds of your system, implementing that for parents now is going to be a great thing for them to do because it's going to keep that normalcy and kind of like that we've gotten out of the structure of like day-to-day lives because our day-to-day lives have changed so much in the last few years. So I think this kind of your vision for this is going to help some families right now that are going through that and as the world changes.
Absolutely. To give them a framework essentially inside of their home, and it's going to look unique for every family.
Mhm.
So what we show them is how to build, and we give them the tools for how to build, and we give them the feedback for
Lots
how
of ideas.
yes, lots of examples and ideas of how things have worked for other people. And then we guide them through making these structures and frameworks for their own unique family based on their own unique family culture and
Mhm.
personalities and giftings. And it does help because it gives everyone a sort of sense of security because they all know what to expect. Everyone now has set expectations for the family rules, for what the family consequences will be. No more do kids have to wonder, is mom just going to blow up? And mom doesn't have to
Mhm.
feel overwhelmed and out like, oh my gosh, the kids are never going to listen to me again. This feels so out of control. Mom has a set expectation of what happens if kids don't do what they were told or what's on their list.
Mhm.
And the kids know it too. And so
Mhm.
when they mess up and there's a set consequence, now mom and dad, they get to grieve with the kid. Oh man, I'm so sorry that you didn't do it the way that we all wanted you to, the way you wanted to. I know you're going to do better next time. And then you still can calmly hand the consequence, whether that's a small fine for the family currency or whatever the family has decided.
Mhm.
And it's a much more loving but stable structure because everyone knows what to expect. And when the world is swirling around us, it's nice to
Mhm.
have home be constant.
That's right. And
Yeah,
that
and
same
calm.
concept is going to apply when they leave from the home,
Mhm.
right? If you go out and you drive 70 miles per hour in a zone where it's only supposed to be 35 miles per hour, then you're going to get a ticket for that.
Here's your ticket.
You broke the law. We're sorry. You made that choice. Here's your consequence.
That police
Right.
officer's not gonna be as nice as mom usually is, right?
But he's not going to be jumping up and down yelling
Right.
either.
So the idea is that we champion these sorts of things so that the parents don't have to be like the drill instructors,
Mhm.
or they don't
Mhm.
have to be the helicopter parent that's pushing, 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 pushing. They instead have a set parameter for just all kinds of stuff in the house. For most of your basic household operations,
Mhm.
everything's set. There's expectations.
Mhm.
Everybody knows what's what and knows their part. And that's
Mhm.
good. If you do your part, great reward. If you don't, yeah, sorry, consequence.
Yeah.
And it can be
Yeah.
that easy.
I love that. I think my son's school in his classroom right now, they do something called Freedom Friday. So they have to earn the letters of Freedom Friday over the
Ah,
week.
cool.
And if they do, then they get to have a relaxed day where they get to play some more games and then wear the pajamas or whatever. And
Huh.
I was like, that's such a great idea. And it kind of reminds me of what you guys are talking about here. And it's really cool. We had another guest on Blissful Parenting a few weeks ago, Nellie, and Nellie was talking about how in their family they've come up with a word so that if you're not being kind or respectful or whatever, they've got this word that just anyone says this word and it reminds everyone in the family like, oh yeah, I've stepped out of that parameter that we've discussed as a family to be like the respectful, kind, courteous, like, thing. And so then they don't need to have the discipline. They understand that they've stepped out of it and they can just correct their behavior. I was like, that was a great idea too. So many good ideas.
Yes. It is wonderful when parents put their heads together and come
Yeah.
together and support each other. because really kids are such a treasure and a blessing. And our
Mhm.
culture does not always remind us of that. It's usually the opposite, and we're made to feel like our kids are a burden, or they're too loud, or they're too, noise, they have too much motion, or
Or they're it's too involved,
they have
right?
too much work.
Mhm.
It's too much work.
But
And it's
they're
like, wow, no, they're your kids.
they're the richest investment we can ever pour into.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful when parents come together and really put their heads together on how can we make this a wonderful experience.
Yeah. And as us too at Blissful Parenting, that's our goal is to have, a million families have a blissful parenting experience because I don't know how it became like not for so many people out there, right? Like it's supposed to be an amazing experience. So I love that you guys have created this system that really is going to help parents navigate. There's no, like, let's put it this way. There's no, like, I didn't get a manual. Did you get a manual? They didn't come with
No,
manuals.
no. And in fact, when we had our first kid, we were stationed overseas, so we were
Mhm.
thousands of miles from home, from family, and we were getting ready to have our first kid. I was literally supposed to go on a deployment to another continent the next day,
Jeez.
and our first was born, and within 24 hours started to have seizures.
Mhm.
And so not only did we start our journey as new parents on another continent far from family,
With no manual.
we started our life as special needs parents that
Mhm.
same day. And so you're like, okay, I clearly don't know how to do anything.
There's
I can take care of the diaper, this other stuff, wow, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And so, we started in a very stressful situation really on day one.
And it's part of
Wow.
the reason that we want to do our outreach, not just to families in general, but also to special needs families,
Mhm.
because that is a time of life when you're trying to figure out what is the best thing for your child and for your own family. And
Mhm.
there's so many extra stressors. There's already stress on families in
Mhm.
general, but then you have the extra stressors in a special needs family where there's commonly divorce because one or the other parent can't handle it, or there are more
Right.
financial stressors because one parent can't work, or there is only one parent to work. And then you
Mhm.
have the higher medical expenses. And then there are studies showing, for example, an easy group to study was autistic mothers, and they found they had a higher rate of cancer. And then because there's caregiver fatigue, and
Mhm.
so we, over the 17 years of being involved in that community for various reasons, realized that as a community, we do need to kind of write a manual.
Mhm.
And so we did set up a group for special needs parents because of that, because we want to start bringing in parents who have a positive mindset, who are willing to encourage, help each other learn about grieving and
Mhm.
and finding joy in circumstances that are hard. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I wish there was a manual. We'll hopefully write one someday that can be of some use to somebody.
Well, with the sounds of it, you've got a great system that's a good start to that manual for for families to then like get your tools and then go back to their family and they can kind of create that themselves too. I mean, we've spoken a lot lately about families who are they don't have that structure that like maybe we used to have. Like things are so like upside down these days where kids are off school these days and they're home this day and they're doing homeschool, but plus this and like it's just so different than no than normal. So has there been some stuff in maybe your military background that's maybe helped you kind of like like set this structure up in your house?
Well, it was born out of lots of different things.
Yeah.
We took parenting class before we ever had kids. We
Yeah.
took
And during.
marriage classes when our kids were quite young. We had to learn how to do a lot of things to adjust, whether because we were in a different state every 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
And so as we moved around, we needed systems that allowed us um, to operate our home rather consistently no matter where we were. And so we
Mhm.
just started piecing together the best of what we found and
Yeah.
what we had built ourselves and doing it that way. And that really did to help. That did a lot to help rather. And so that was quite good. And
Yeah, I bet that'd be really helpful for parents too, like having this system in place so that when the world outside changes, like for you guys, it was your environment, you were changing countries. Maybe it's for, when COVID happens or when
mm,
other, other disasters or emergencies happen, then it stays consistent in the house.
That's right.
And
yeah.
then the kids can feel more secure and safe and therefore have such like a positive upbringing then, right? If they can stay that and feel secure and safe in their own home and have
Mhm.
that stability too. I think that's so important.
It
Well,
is
it's
so
good
important.
because the home is a great place for us to teach and to train the children. It's a great place for them to learn. And so they can do their schooling here. They can have their job here. They can have their fun and recreation here. And so we provide for all of those things.
Awesome.
We
Now,
have
do
a
you have
very-
it broken down as like different systems? Like, you have the system for like helping them learn the finance, how to be financially literate, or like learn their chores or those kind of things. You have it broken down in different kinds of systems, or it's kind of like a one thing that you do as like building the whole kind of family environment.
It's a big ecosystem, I think is the best way to describe it.
That would be true.
Yep. And we start first by focusing on really foundational pieces before we ever get into the details of financial literacy or, whose assignment is what for jobs in the home or responsibilities. We first work with the foundational things like connecting the hearts, connecting mom and dad so that they're not having tension, making sure that their expectations of one another and of the children are all spoken and written and posted. And then we start working on having a common family vision. And where does the family want to see itself in 20 years? How do you want that to look? What are the relationships that you want your kids to be having? Those sorts of things. And then we start, to work on, well, let's work on goals. How do you get to that vision? What is it going to look like? What things do you need to do? So we start at a much wider, broader, but heart-centered place. And then we start working into the little gears, like building a car. You kind of have to know what it looks like, what you want it to become before you start putting in the little pieces. So.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's almost like you're starting with the values first and connecting that connection piece too. And I know that's one thing we've spoken a bit about on podcasts recently is like the parents being on the same page before then they can execute any like really good parenting. It's like they got to get on the same page. You guys have any tips for parents that maybe aren't on the same page at the moment that to help them get on the same page first before they start be like, no, I said this, no, he said that, no, like it just is very confusing for the kids, I think.
Yes, it is. So I do. Do you want to say anything first?
Well, I knew you were going to say that. So we would say, sit down and think about where you want to be 10, 20, 30 years down the road. What do you want that to feel like? And do you need to work yourself backwards and say, okay, for us to get there, how do we need to be today? And how about in 5 years, in 10 years? And you can do it that way. On a daily basis, though, she's going to tell you about our concept that we call couch time that allows you to do something on a daily basis.
We did a full podcast episode on it too. So if somebody wants more details, they can go look it up at our Family Success Secrets podcast. But we implemented, really for our entire parenting experience, when he wasn't deployed and out of town, a concept that we call couch time. And we had learned about it during a parenting class while I was expecting our firstborn from parents who had at least 6 kids. They just threw out this idea that we then grabbed onto, where every day when he would come home from work, we would specifically take approximately 20 minutes. We set the groundwork with the children. For many years, the children were very young. So we began this, and to this day often continue to do this in the same room with the children. But the children know that it's our time. And we're intentionally in the room with them as much as we can be, because that's modeling to them the priority of our relationship. That our relationship has to be healthy and we have to have a good connection in order for us to be the kind of parents that they need us to be. And so we would spend those 20 minutes. He would usually text me and I'd, be so excited he was coming home, wrap up whatever I was doing and make us tea or coffee or whatever, and be ready when he came in the door, and he'd see the kids and hug them. Oh, it was so great, celebrate. And then he would put his work stuff down and I'd grab our tea and we would head to the couch. And those 20 minutes were our 20 minutes, even if the children were right there, to talk about anything that we needed to talk about. Sometimes for me, it was the first adult conversation I'd had in the day. And so sometimes he was just an incredible listener. Other times we had bigger life things that we needed to discuss, and we could make a good plan then for when we would discuss them. So really, it was just quite a multifaceted experience in that it modeled good things for the kids. It allowed us to have time together every single day. And it was
Mhm.
just relaxing.
It was deliberate.
It
So we
was.
knew we were going to do that 5 days a week, maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But we didn't necessarily know when we sat down on Thursday what we would be talking about. But we
No,
knew that on Thursday when I got home from work,
we would
we'd be
just have
sitting
time.
down. Same for Friday.
Yeah.
And so we sort of set that, and then we established it as a pattern, right? And so that it was always going to happen. So it set the expectations for the kids that, one, we were going to do that. Two, when Dad came into the house, I'd hang out with you for just a minute, change clothes, whatever I was going to do. Then it was time with Mom, right?
Mhm.
You guys are welcome to be in the room, but you're not
Mhm.
allowed to interrupt us. So here's a puzzle, here's a game, read a book, whatever you want to do,
And
or go play. Doesn't
then they
matter.
could have him back whenever, when I was making dinner or whatever. So
That's an interesting time of day to pick too as the time that you were going to do that, because oftentimes I think family, I'm just remembering when my parents were working, coming through the door was like, coming through the door, rushing, then to get dinner, and then like sports activities, or like, it was like, it was a bit of a chaotic time of day for family. So I like how you picked that time, which is typically chaotic, and made it a relaxing, deliberate like time for your
Mhm.
connection.
It was intentional. And by that time of day, everybody's pretty tired anyway. And for us, it
Mhm.
was almost a nice mental pivot into the rest of the day,
Mhm.
because that is a transition time for everybody in their day when, mom or dad get home. And so for us, it was a really positive way to do it.
That's awesome. I love it. So
Mhm.
great. So that's a great tip for our parents at home. They're thinking like, oh yeah, like when I need to start implementing something, but how can we get back on the same page? How can we have that time together? I like that you're modeling it to the kids too. I think that, it sets some boundaries for the kids too. Like I'm not
Yeah.
jumping all over you while you guys are trying to connect. And it also allows them to go and play and do their own thing
Mhm.
for a little while too. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, I love it. Any last tips for our parents today? You guys have given so many great like little nuggets. I'm excited to follow your podcast and see what other things you have on your in your family success system. It sounds really,
Mhm.
really intriguing. And I think it's something that parents like would really appreciate, having some guides and like a toolkit to go through this parenting experience with someone else, with a community. And I think you said that earlier today, having a community is a huge thing, right? You
Mhm.
don't have that community, feel like you're doing it on your own. You need to find that community, whether it's parents with special needs kids, it's parents that are, expats, or his parents that are, having both parents working from home, or whatever the community is that you feel like you want to fit into. I think that's such a great idea, to find a community that you can be a part of as parents.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. And as you're doing that, it certainly wouldn't hurt to find somebody who's a little further down the road in their
Mhm.
journey than you are, and have
Mhm.
somebody who can mentor you in that way. Because
Yes.
I think that is, she and I both had that. We both had very stable families growing up, and so we had our parents to model. We had families who already had children, and
Mhm.
maybe their children were already to the point where they were self-sufficient, and we would learn from them. So that's another good place that you can pick up some good information.
Yeah. Don't blaze the trail alone, because you're not the first one down it,
No
right?
reason to.
Yeah. And if yeah, there's no need to make the same mistakes others made. Having a mentor, finding a coach, finding someone to really help you through is such a
Mm.
huge tip. And thank you for that. I think it's really important. Make sure you guys go check out Katie and Steve's podcast. So Family Success Secrets. And then where's your guys' website? Where else can we find more information about you?
So we have tried to streamline and make it pretty easy to be found. We have a group called Family Success Secrets, and you'll see our picture on the cover photo to make it easy to identify us.
Mhm.
And then the same thing for our page, if anybody's interested in our page, also Family Success Secrets. And on Instagram, we're also Family Success Secrets. We are not on Instagram as often, but we are there. But we do love to focus on our people in our little group that we're growing and trying to pour amazing value for very busy parents into the group.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for all that you do for busy parents and all those parents out there, to help them have a more blissful existence and more blissful time with their kids, and also have their kids like so ready and prepared to leave and go on to the world and be great humans out there. I think they've got that foundation and that solid foundation. Then, oh my gosh, the world is in for good shape with the kids coming out of family homes, feeling secure and loved, and and having great foundations. So that's awesome.
Thank you
Indeed.
so much.
Yeah,
You're
appreciate
welcome. Well, thanks for having us here today. Thanks for having you. In fact, thank you for being here today, is what I meant to say. Thank you for being here today. And we'll bring you back again in the future. I'd love to hear an update of what you guys are doing and where you're at.
it.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, blissful parents out there, go check out Katie and Steve's stuff and tune in again next week. We'll see you again. Go out there and have a blissful week.